Alright folks, Doodlebug video, probably the last one that we'll do on this particular machine. But anyway, just a little background. We bought this brand new from Pep Boys. It was $300 with a 1-year warranty where they would replace the whole machine if something was seriously wrong. Made in China, obviously, and unfortunately. It is 97cc Baja DB30 Doodlebug, probably one of the most common bikes out there that somebody would buy for a rider anywhere from about 70, 80 pounds or so, and this will handle a rider up to about 150 pounds. Comes in a little metal crate. You have to put the handlebars on. They're separated, and you have to put the front wheel on. But when we bought this, the rear wheel was already connected, so on and so forth. So we're just going to give it a little once over, and then we'll get to the throttle cable repair that we did. A couple of things about this. First of all, the clutch, when you first buy them, I would recommend to anybody, you take the cover off immediately and oil it up, and you tighten up the chain, and we're going to go over that. There's not a whole lot that you can do with the spring tensioner here. You can make sure the spring's on there pretty good, and it's holding the chain appropriately, but basically underneath this plate you can see these little channel holes here. There's 4 bolts, and really to tension the chain, you just pull the whole engine forward. And that's what we did. And what that does is it makes it a little bit difficult to grab this oil drain hole. Here's where you fill, here's where you check your oil level, here's the drain. You can still get a wrench in there like it is, but sometimes you may actually have to loosen the bolts underneath, all 4, with a socket wrench, and push the engine back a little bit to do your oil change. If you have a stretched out chain and you pull the engine forward quite a bit, basically we had it so far forward one time that it actually was touching this bar, and then I replaced the chain. But clutch on these, the clutch grabs early, it grabs at idle, and it needs constantly to be oiled on the spindle, and I'll show you. Why don't you hold this camera right here?
Okay.
All right. So basically, a couple of spin tights. Got an 8mm up here. It's just 2 screws. And down here, now the first time I took this off, I had to break out a ratchet and socket. It was on there so tight that I just couldn't get it off.
And there's our clutch.
Yes. Now the clutch, to oil this up and to keep it from grabbing early, I want to put oil right there. Just hold the camera on that for a second.
Actually, I'm gonna try to get it
Right. Now, let's
right in between that little thing there.
this guy has just got some 30 weight oil in it. You could use PB Blaster. You could use chain lube with Molly, which I've used a lot. But basically, right there is where you want to put a little oil. And if it's on a little stand like this, let's get the rear wheel. Focus, tap it. And you just want to turn it to let the oil work in. And that's it. That's all you got to do for the oiling of the clutch. I'm just going to take my cover and just put it over here out of the way. Okay.
Little homemade stand there.
All right. Yeah. Let me hold this. Okay, let's get to the throttle cable repair. The throttle cable broke up here inside. Very simple, 2 screws. It's not hard to get on or off. The new cable assembly comes with everything all the way up to this nut, and you just slide it in, thread it through, and hook it into the little hole. It's not hard. Down on the bottom, here's our carb. Here's our fuel on and off. Here's our choke. on and off. The real throttle is right here. Full open, that's full throttle, and off. And you notice it's returning really nicely because of this arm. And that is connected down here to this guy. So what I'm going to do is with my other hand, I'll just twist the throttle. And basically, that's how it works. It pulls the arm. There is a little spring right here that pulls on the arm. But what was happening is, even though we bought this as the original equipment manufacturer part, it was just barely long enough to fit through this nut and get tightened. The original bike had that much wire sticking out easily. This one, they gave it they gave you just barely enough. So up on top, I tried to put this behind the handlebar, in front of the handlebars, playing around with it, thinking I had done something wrong. But nope, that's all they get. Now here's the big problem. The main arm right here, which operates the throttle, was not returning very well at all. It's returning now. If you look at it up top, the real throttle action is working. I thought that with the cable pushing back a little bit, it would be enough. It was not. So what we had to do was add an additional spring. It may be a little hard to see, but you can see that extra spring. It looks a little bit like an accordion right now. There is a second hole on that main arm. There's actually 3 of them you can see now. I took a spring that I bought from the manufacturer for an extra $1, thinking I might have a spring problem when I hook this up, and I did. And that spring is providing the nice positive return on the throttle, so it will go back to idle right away if you bring the throttle all the way back to its stop. The problem is there was no place to hook it off to. You can see the chain on the other side. So what I did was I hooked it to the cage of the exhaust muffler. Not the best idea. You can see the cage there, and eventually the heat of the muffler will burn through and the spring will break. But for now, the return is so nice that it's rideable and it works. So I'll show you the other side. Here is our little home repair. There's the spring on the muffler cage, and you can see it going down underneath, hooking to the arm. Maybe not the most professional thing in the world to do, but we're talking about a 3 horsepower, $300 mini bike that gets more abuse than I care to think about. So I'm going to hand this off. We'll start her up and we'll see what happens here. Come on over here. So here we got our fuel on, right? We won't need the choke, I hope. It's summertime, but we'll see. Okay. Now, if we had not oiled the clutch, what would be happening right now is this rear wheel would be turning. It would want to turn and turn and turn. I would recommend that any time that your kid is going to go out and ride, you go ahead and you give that clutch a little squirt of oil, PB Blaster, what have you. Don't really recommend WD-40, but you can use it. I like the Blaster or the penetrating solvents, a Molly chain lube, or some 30 weight oil in a little pistol like we showed you in the beginning. And with that throttle return, let's see how it responds now. Just twisting the throttle. Oh, gonna need a little gas. it go. Alright, that's what that oil in the clutch is going to do for you. After a couple of hours of riding, even sitting on the grass, that clutch will grab so hard that there's enough power in it, even at a high idle, that the bike would actually take off across the yard. So I recommend oiling that clutch all the time. They say that they've made a new one that will perform much better, but we're not going to bother to buy that because now our riders are way over the weight limit, as you can see, and they've moved on to bigger things. But for, you know, the $280 to $300 for this bike, something that you're just going to beat the crap out of and just maintain as much as you need, it's not bad. And that's it. See you next time.